Vice President, meanwhile, Mike Pence, slamming the NBA for acting like, in his words, what he called a wholly owned subsidiary of China. He also took a shot at corporations doing business with China, including Nike.
Far too many American multinational corporations have kowtowed to the lure of China's money and markets by muzzling not only criticism of the Chinese Communist Party, but even affirmative expressions of American values. Nike promotes itself as a so-called social justice champion. But when it comes to Hong Kong, it prefers checking its social conscience at the door.
The vice president says the U.S. is ready for a new future when China ends unfair trade practices. Our guest host this hour, Texas Congressman Kevin Brady, ranking member of the Ways and Means Committee. We've come a long way towards, I guess, agreeing with some of this in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
But we've all benefited from cheap goods from China for 20 years. Everybody does business there. Then our inflation rate in this country was a point lower probably over 20 years because of this symbiotic relationship with China. It's tough to break that. I mean,
it is. And look, there's always been a trade-off, you know, for companies doing business in China and chasing customers there and consumers who buy. We know that. I think it's become a stark contrast here in the past year. I think people know this more vividly than they did before. But I do think we have a moment in time here where we can reset that trading relationship with China. I sense that these discussions are on the right path. Looks like they're making progress. And earlier this week, China sort of to echo what we're hearing about the negotiations, came out with 2 new regulations dealing with intellectual property, forced transfer, protecting trade secrets, exchange type issues. That's not a solution. The point is there seems to be pretty solid progress toward this phase 1. Not that it's a done deal yet.
Kevin, I see China kind of being dragged, kicking and screaming into this.
No doubt.
Do you think in the back of their mind, and I don't know who they is, President Xi, the Communist Party, whomever, do they know someday they need to conform with general rules of global trade, or do they want to keep this as long as they possibly can?
So it's changed. I think for the past decade there was an assumption that they wanted to move to market on currency, on rules-based trading, on all of that they wanted to, but simply couldn't. Now that we're questioning, do they ever want to get to that point again? I think that's why these negotiations are important. I'll tell you, I still think that long term it is better to have American companies competing in these countries because you are exporting our values. But I'll tell you right now, I think those trade-offs are pretty tough.
You think the status quo for China, do they do much better the way it is right now than if they were to reform? I mean, they're not going to want to do it.
Look, I know they don't want to, but they're going to have to. If they want to be, you know, sort of whether the reserve currency or they want to be the economic leader of the world, they have to change their ways. I think long term, here's something that's sort of striking me right now. I think whoever's advising them that this really isn't how America feels. You know, this is a temporary Trump-type issue. I don't think they understand the sands have shifted in the U.S. This is not a short-term point that's being made here. It is going to be a long-term dispute. It's in their interest. It's in their interest.
And you think we could go it alone without China easier than they can go it alone without the United States?
I don't think there's
either way.
It doesn't make sense to decouple here. Look, these are big economies, different value systems, but no, I think we've got a chance to reset this.
You think they could do IP and other reforms without human rights reforms too? I mean, when does that come?
You know, yeah. So it's always tough to tie those civil society issues to trade issues, but a good start would be not ripping off people's IP, not forcing tech transfer, you know, all those things. And if they're playing by the rules, at the end of the day, long term, I think they benefit.
Do you think we get anything out of the trade deal? Andrew is a little bit skeptical.
I'm skeptical that anything's coming this year. I have a view that the Chinese government has their popcorn out, they're watching the movie, and they're going to wait till at least November of 2020.
Yeah, they may. So I'm optimistic we're actually going to reach an agreement, not overselling it, but I think some pretty solid steps. Again, a misread in a presidential year. You think people are going to go softer on China? You think, or even afterwards, you think Democrats can be less tough?
Well, that's right. The flip side of this is Elizabeth Warren or whoever you think is going to be the candidate on the other side. Right. Whether you think that they are actually even more hawkish.
Yeah. Well, people don't remember. It was Chuck Schumer. The proposal 25% tariffs on China.
He wants Huawei out completely.
Boom. Yeah. So look, I think their chance to reach an agreement, they're in the sweet spot now.